Speaking generally, when you're trying to find the most comfortable carry position, you want to keep the gun in a spot with enough surface area to support it, away from your joints, and in a place where you have full range of motion. We call that finding your concealment boundaries, and that means finding the correct ride height and centering for your unique body shape. If your gun's out of bounds, it'll cause problems. It's pretty easy to find your boundaries for carrying strong side, but appendix carry, which is on the front of the body, takes a little bit more work because small differences matter more. All carry positions have pros and cons, and there's a lot more at stake than just comfort, so it is a lot to think about. But the good news is that the foundation principles of comfort apply to all carry positions and all body types. Some of the techniques are going to require adaptation, so take this information and use your common sense to apply it to your body and your chosen carry position. To determine my comfort boundaries, I use my unloaded gun in the holster and move the whole thing around. Since your legs move up when you sit or bend, start in the seated position to find your boundaries. Notice how the further out towards my hip joint I go, the higher the gun needs to be to avoid interference. By simply testing out different movements and paying attention to where my body hinges, I can figure out where the boundaries are for my individual shape and anatomy. You can see that if the gun is too low, it hits your legs or other relevant anatomy, so moving it up is the obvious fix. If you feel like your gun is too high and it's catching you underneath your ribs, there's actually a technique tip for that. Tighten your abs as you bend, allowing the gun to float ahead of the ribs instead of hanging up underneath. If your gun hangs up under your soft tissue, also known as the tactical muffin top, then usually the answer is to move it higher. Then you can add a wedge to help with concealment and fill in any gap between the gun and the body. We've got a whole video series on concealment wedges, and it's awesome, so definitely be sure to check that out. It's got everything there from learning what shape and size wedge you need to how to make your own. Two things to keep in mind. One, you only have a finite space inside your concealment boundary. The size of your boundary matters, and the size of the gun matters. It's relative. So if you're a tiny person carrying a huge gun, you're a lot more likely to run into range of motion issues and comfort problems. Check out the concealment percentages video by Armed and Styled. It's got some great information on figuring out what gun size will be easy for you to conceal versus what gun size will be a little bit harder and make you have to work a little more. And the second thing is that your ideal ride height may or may not correspond with the belt line of your pants. So you might need to consider changing to higher or lower rise pants or using a carry system that doesn't attach to your clothing. That's something you'll have to figure out for yourself, but I will say the most common error people make is carrying too low. Plan on taking some time to experiment with your own concealment boundaries, and make sure to watch the concealment mechanics videos so you can see examples of how to find your sweet spot on a whole bunch of different body types.